Hello, everyone. Welcome back to St. Louis Teens. Today, we are here with Mateen Khaligi, who is the founder of eEqual, mitigating the impacts of economic inequality for students experiencing poverty through targeted programming powered by youth. Mateen, you're an Ashoka Young Changemaker and were selected for the 25 Under 25 Social Entrepreneurs. Congratulations and thank you for your phenomenal service to our youth in need.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that warm introduction.
Mateen, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what inspired you to start eEqual?
Yeah, well, my name is Mateen Khaligi. I am right here in Denver, Colorado right now. I was going to be going to Harvard this year, but I ended up taking a gap year because I don't do too well with online school. But again, really excited to be here. And when I was in 8th grade, I took a community service class that was really centered around just doing something positive to help out in the community. And then from there, I founded an organization called Helping the Homeless Colorado, where we would support people out on the streets. And I did that for about 4 years until my senior year of high school, where we basically took Helping the Homeless Colorado and transitioned it to another organization called Equal, which I'm sure we're going to be talking more about. So, yeah.
And Mateen, your vision is to make it possible for every student to receive an equal opportunity to achieve their full potential in education, regardless of their economic background. How were you able to accomplish this?
Yeah, well, Equal right now works in kind of two goals. We call it perform and inform. So, perform is about how we directly interact with students in poverty and homelessness. So, right now we have a scholarship awards program that sends high school students or young adults who want to go to college, who are experiencing homelessness or extreme poverty, which means they usually can't pay for something like that. So, we pay for them to go to college. And on top of that, we're adding two pilot programs this year. One is about covering the costs that come with public education. So I bet we both can relate on this, that every year we come home from school and we have about $100 check that we need from mom and dad to pay for XYZ fees. Well, a lot of times for kids in this situation, that's not an easy ask to make, and they end up missing out on those things. So we're trying to create a micro grant program that can cover those costs so that these kids get an equal education, an equal experience during their time in public education. And then lastly, we're trying to address the big need of classroom supplies. So in rural districts and lower income school districts, they just don't have the same access to basic classroom supplies like pencils, paper, notebook, XYZ, right? So we're going to be um, hopefully creating a chapter network that can distribute those classroom supplies. And then lastly, on the other side, which we call Inform, we work more just on the social campaigns and bringing awareness and taking away stigma surrounding student poverty and homelessness. And we actually just put out our first social campaign around coronavirus yesterday. So definitely you guys should go check it out.
And Mateen, Equal does some incredible and wonderful things to help out these students in need. And I know it can be difficult, but if you sort of had to pick one part about Equal that was your favorite, what would it be?
Well, I guess I could say, well, equal in general, I really love our team. That's one thing I'll put out there, that we are an all youth led organization. So we do have adult advisors, but other than that, all of our programming is done, executed, developed, all of that by young people. So I have grown to know a lot of the people on our team for about 3 to 4 years now, and we are just the closest of friends, and we are really excited about what we're doing. But moreover, I really love our scholarship program because it really addresses a critical need that kids in poverty and homelessness don't have the chance to go to college. And there's so many studies out there that show the value of going to college, even if it's just an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. So it really does break the cycle of poverty. So I'm really excited about that program.
And can you share with us some of those success stories of the program and the people that you're able to work with?
Yeah. So my junior year of high school, when we were doing Helping the Homeless Colorado, we pulled in 5 scholars into our program. And this program from Helping the Homeless Colorado did transition over to Equal. That was one of the programs that we did keep. Um, so I got to meet 5 students who were very similar to myself, who are living a completely different life than me. So I have challenges of just trying to finish my homework because I might be a little bit lazy or it's just too much on the night, but they have challenges of finding where they're going to be sleeping that night or where they're going to get their next meal. So it was really interesting to be able to connect with those students, read their applications, and then kind of be their ally throughout the past couple of years. And we've had two students graduate from our program. One has just become a vet tech. The other one has transferred to a four-year institution on full scholarship. So we're really excited about the ability of these kids and what they've accomplished. And I'm saying kids, but they're really my age, but I don't know how to say it. But yeah.
And it's so wonderful to be able to see those success stories. And Mateen, your support of those students that are struggling is phenomenal. And one thing that I see is students are not always aware of all the private scholarships, such as yours. How do you make people aware of your program? And secondly, is your program limited to Colorado, or is it open to students anywhere in the country?
Yeah, so that's very tricky. So first thing I'll give some background is when you're working with students in poverty and homelessness, there's a huge challenge surrounding self-identification. So I'm sure you could understand as a student, as I do myself, that you don't want to ever admit you have less, and you don't want to come out and say, well, I can't afford to go to college, I can't afford to do XYZ, right? So a lot of times this population that we're working with doesn't um, take opportunities as much because they're a little hesitant about what information would end up being out there about them. So when we first tried the program, my sophomore year of high school, we basically sent every high school counselor and post grad center across the nation or across Colorado, hey, we have this scholarship for students experiencing homelessness, have them apply. We only had two people out of all of Colorado apply, and we were said, okay, so what's the problem here? And after reading a little bit more and kind of getting feedback from some trusted adults, we figured out, okay, this scholarship isn't that accessible. Kids don't want to be just randomly applying to some youth-led group that says they can help them out, right? So we ended up partnering with the Community College Foundation here in Colorado, and now our scholarship operates at 39 institutions across the state, and it's accessible to anyone who wants to go the community college route or has or wants to go to an institution kind of sponsored by them. We do accept applications online if someone is just interested in going to a four-year institution or has a different situation. However, we don't really get a lot of applications through that route. We get about 95% of our applications through the Community College Foundation because a lot of kids are already looking to go that route if they are looking to go to college. So yeah, and then to the second part of your question, we do not, our application is online, so therefore we don't necessarily exclude anyone who applies wherever they are in the nation. Um, as far as for our partnership with the Community College Foundation, it's really right now in Colorado. And once we grow that a little bit more, we're looking to expand it in a couple of more states. But as far as anyone just really interested, they're welcome to apply through our website. So yeah, we're kind of in Colorado and out of Colorado right now, but we hope to grow out of the state as well.
I think that's incredible, and it would be helpful to so many students around the nation to be able to do that. And Mateen, I know you talked about earlier loving your team and the team that you have put together for this. And the team that you were able to put together and yourself raised a significant amount of money for Equal. For our budding social entrepreneurs, what are your keys to success with fundraising and building a strong team?
Yeah. Well, it takes time. That's the first thing. And I think one thing I was talking about at a seminar the other day was the importance of when you're in a leadership position, that you're not always thinking as the director, but also thinking as a friend and a teammate, right? So it's really easy to get caught up in, well, Mateen's the executive director, I have to have everyone do this, that, blah, 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 when I could be easily forgetting if that was my mindset about, okay, well, I'm working with my peers, I'm working with friends here. So sometimes when you're a founder, I think there's kind of this attitude we have that like this is our baby and we don't want anyone to like harm it. But I think you also have to remember that when you bring in new people, there's so much they can add to the organization, and rarely do people take away, right? So it's all good there. So sometimes just kind of getting over that spot in your head that like, well, everyone can contribute to the nonprofit in some capacity, and um, once you build that team and build that dynamic first, then the team comes with it. And then all the things of fundraising to planning events to running programs like these, they come a lot smoother because you have that team dynamic. So for anyone out there, I would recommend focus on building a positive professional team dynamic. And try and make it as much as possible, though there's like hierarchy within an organization, try and make that hierarchy not seem such a big deal that like no one should be looking at you, especially with a lot of the groups that I think we're talking to are pretty much volunteer based groups. So like you don't need to have a boss. Like you don't need to make the whole thing about, oh, well, they're my boss and whatnot. You can make it a lot more collaborative environment.
And I think those are things that we can all aspire to do, especially when we build a team as well. I want to transition over now to the COVID-19 pandemic. And with the onset of the pandemic, how has life changed for your organization and the work that you do?
Yeah, so the idea of Equal began fall of my senior year, so about October 2019, where we were going to transition from helping the homeless Colorado to a new organization. So we began with a 2-month research phase, and then we did branding, we did team building, we did pitching to different community groups and adult sponsors and XYZ, and then March of 2020 hit, and then like everything stopped. And we, for a second, I think for a second, I mean like probably 2 weeks, really didn't know what we were going to do, as in, okay, can Equals programs still work if we're in a virtual world? How are we going to like continue to build this? Because we were halfway there, right? So we weren't ready yet to like, we weren't even established yet. So there was a huge challenge there. So we were planning at launching at the end of April. And then we said, okay, might have to push this back. We ended up pushing it back to the end of June. But it took a big hit on like where we were going to be, but then I think I'm kind of thankful for it because we're completely virtual. We really meet in person if we have to film something. That's about the only time we have to meet in person. um, and we like rarely do that, and we can be pretty safe when we do that. But I think it just showed us like how much more effective we can be in a virtual world, right? Like we have our meetings on Zoom, we do FaceTime calls, we do XYZ. Like uh, my co-founder's in Oregon right now. So it's like we're doing the same amount of work, we're just across the nation. We don't even know, right? Because it would be the same thing as if she was 10 minutes from my house. So I think it just showed for sure that we can still be effective, but I think I've actually noticed our productivity has gone up and we're just genuinely a more effective group because we're not in person. I mean, we're young people, so we end up pulling up TikTok a couple of times during meetings or doing things that are a little bit too fun, right? And then we get off topic, but I think that's a little harder to do when you're on Zoom. So I don't know. I think it was, the negative was makes things a little bit harder, and some of Equals programs have to transition a little bit to work in a virtual world and a coronavirus world. But at the same time, I think there was a lot of pluses in our um, organizational model and like how we are making our programming and our meetings and XYZ happening.
We're so thankful that you were able to continue Equal through the pandemic, especially when so many students are, now especially in need during these times, and that you're actually able to take some parts of this and use it to your advantage to build this project as well. Mateen, if you had to say a message for teens who are aspiring to become innovators and leaders like yourself and your team, what would it be?
That's a great question. Let's see, you're asking all the right questions here. Um, I think what's really important is to know who you're trying to help and never assume who you're like the needs or the challenges of who you're trying to help. I think one of the biggest mistakes we made in 8th grade when we started helping the homeless Colorado was we assumed what people experiencing homelessness need. We said, oh, well, all they need is shampoo and soap and all that. But that was a very like small part of the whole issue, right? Like it's a temporary change. There's so many more layers to it than that. And I think as 8th graders, we were young, so we were just like, yeah, that's all they need. But taking the time to really learn about who you're trying to help. I have never been a student who's experienced extreme poverty or homelessness. Therefore, I'm not an expert in that. So if I'm going to try and make programs for a kid or someone who's going through that challenge, then I need to talk to them, or I need to talk to the people that work closely with them, to learn about how I can be of help and how Equal could be of help instead of a burden in the whole situation. So take the time to learn, and not a quick Google search, like really talk to people and research and give yourself that time, and then let the fun and creativity come in with building the organization around it, or building whatever it is you are around it. But really know what you're talking about when you do it.
Mateen, thank you so much for your amazing service to our youth in need and to our country. And thank you so much for your time today and answering all of our questions.
Of course, I was super excited to be on, and super great to be connected with you. And I love everything you're doing. I'm definitely going to stay tuned for more. I could say, if anyone wants to connect with Equal, you can visit our website. It's equal with 2es.org, or on social media, we're at Equal Nonprofit. So make sure you get connected with us.